Hello, welcome to Gurukul's CAT 100 series, a series that's designed specifically to take you from your study room to the corporate boardroom. I am Prady Sharma and this is Verbal Mastery with Prady. Hello everyone, welcome back to day 91 of our 100 days to CAT test series. Now this is the passage for today. In case you want to take this up as a test, all you've got to do is go on to www.thegurukul.org.in and sign up for the 100 days to CAT test series. If you want to follow along with the video, then these are the first parts of your passage. Pause the video here, read these parts, and then we're going to go into the second parts of the passage. These are the last few parts of the passage. Pause the video here, read these parts, and then we're going to go into the questions of this passage. Now this is question number 1. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to move into the second question. Now this is question number 2. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to go into the third question. This is question number 3. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to move into the last question of the day. Now this is question number 4, the last question of the day. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we're going to go into the passage and question explanations. What does the passage talk about? In 1904, the US Patent Office granted a patent for a board game called the Landlord's Game, which was invented by Virginia Quaker named Lizzie Magie. So someone who lived in Virginia, her name was Lizzie Magie. Magie was a follower of Henry George, who started a tax movement that supported the theory that renting of land and real estate produced an unearned increase in land values that profited few individuals who were the landlords rather than the majority of the people who were the tenants. So basically what was this person, Henry George's proposition? Henry George had proposed that yes, if you are renting land and real estate, then there will be an unearned increase for the land. That means the value of that land goes up, although it's not something that you're getting every month, but the value of the land goes up and the benefit of that only goes to the landlords and not the tenants. The tenants are the majority of the people over here. George proposed a single federal tax based on land ownership. He believed that this tax would weaken the ability to form monopolies, encourage equal opportunity, and narrow the gap between rich and poor. So this person, Henry George, who started the tax movement, he wanted to have a federal tax, okay, which was based on land ownership. So not the tenants and all, only the owners of the land should be paying this tax, so that there won't be any monopolies as such, and there'll be equality, right? So what does this paragraph do? This paragraph introduces Landlord's Game, yes, and the characters Maggie, George, and George's proposition. Right, so this is what's the passage idea. Now for the second paragraph, Lizzie Magie wanted to spread the word about George's proposal, making it more understandable to a majority of people who are basically unfamiliar with economics. Great, that's a very nice thing. She wanted to educate more people about this particular concept. As a result, she invented a board game that would serve as a teaching device. Landlord's Game was intended to explain the evils of monopolies, showing that they repress the possibility for equal opportunity. This game, that's a teaching game, okay, it was intended to explain that monopolies are bad, okay, by showing that they repress the possibility of equal opportunity. That means they reduced the possibility of equal opportunity. Her instructions read in part, the object of this game is not only to afford amusement to players, but to illustrate to them how under the present or prevailing system of land tenure, the landlord has an advantage over the other enterprises. Also, how the single tax would discourage speculation. So basically, she wanted to show two things. A, why the landlord has an undue advantage over the others, and B, how this monopoly can be broken by the tax that they were proposing, right? So here in this paragraph we understand Landlord Game's objectives, okay, that Maggie had given, and there are two objectives. First one, show landlord has undue advantage, and obviously the second idea, that tax can benefit many people. Right, so these are the two ideas that I get from here. Now for the last paragraph of this passage, the board for the game was painted with 40 spaces around its perimeter, including 4 railroads, 2 utilities, 22 rental properties, and a jail. There were other squares directing players to go to jail, pay a luxury tax, and park. All properties were available for rent rather than purchase. Maggie's intentions became very popular, spreading through word of mouth and altering slightly as it did. Now, what do I understand over here? Over here, it shows me the logistics of the game. Okay, we're only talking about how the game board is and all. So I'm going to write this is the logistics of the landlord's game. And the second idea that we see over here is that this became seemingly popular. This became extremely popular. Also, some part of it changed as it became popular. Some part of it was miscommunicated as when it became popular. Next part of the passage says, since it was not manufactured by Maggie, the boards and the game's pieces were homemade. The rules were explained and transmuted from one group of friends to another. There's evidence to suggest that landlord game was played at Princeton, Harvard, and the University of Pennsylvania. So now again, over here we see that yes, people spoke to each other, which changed a bit of the rules, changed a few things. Also, since there was no control on how the boards, game pieces and all were, things were, bound to change, right? People were explaining rules to each other and there was some kind of transmission. Also, we see that this game was played at very popular hubs. Next, in 1924, Maggie approached George Parker, president of Parker Brothers, to see if he was interested in purchasing the rights to her game. Parker turned her down, saying that it was too political. The game increased in popularity, migrating north to New York State, west to Michigan, and as far south as Texas. By the early 1930s, it had reached Charles Darrow in Philadelphia in 1935, claiming to be the inventor. Darrow got a patent for the game and approached Parker Brothers. This time, the company loved it, swallowed Darrow's prevarication, and not only purchased his patent, but also paid him royalties for every game sold. The game quickly became Parker Brothers' bestseller and made the company and Darrow millions of dollars. So basically, what do I understand over here? Here we have a lot of ideas. First idea is that Maggie wanted to sell the landlord's game to Parker Brothers, but Parker Brothers said no. Second thing, the popularity for this board game grew exponentially. It traveled across the world. The game traveled across the world, and that is where it reached Charles Darrow. Now, Charles Darrow got a patent claiming he was the real inventor of this game. Yes, how did that happen? No one knows, because already the patent was with Maggie, right, as far as the first paragraph was concerned. So how did this fellow also get the patent? We don't know. But Parker Brothers, when Charles Darrow now went to Parker Brothers to sell this game called as Monopoly, his own version of it, yes, Parker Brothers approved of it, and this Parker Brothers game, Monopoly, became the bestseller as well. Okay, now why did Parker Brothers allow it? That we get from this part, swallowed Darrow's prevarication. So an evasive way of answering questions and all. So probably they must have asked him, how did you get the patent and all, because they already knew, right? So this fellow must have given a very convincing answer, and they bought it. When Parker Brothers found out that Darrow was not the true inventor of the game, they wanted to protect their rights to the successful game. So they went back to Lizzie Maggie, now Mrs. Elizabeth Maggie Phillips of Clarendon, Virginia. She agreed to a payment of $500 for her patent with no royalties, so she could stay true to the original intent of her game's invention. She therefore required in return that Parker Brothers manufacture and market the landlord's game in addition to Monopoly. However, only a few hundred games were ever produced. Monopoly went on to become the world's best-selling board game with an objective that is exact opposite of the one Maggie intended. The idea that game is to buy and rent or sell property so profitably that one becomes the wealthiest player and eventually monopolist. The game is one of shrewd and amusing trading and excitement. So what do we see over here? Okay, so now that they had realized, so Parker Brothers realized CD was not the true inventor, right? But they wanted to protect Monopoly as a successful game. They wanted to protect it because it was very, very, easily sellable. A lot of people were buying it, right? So what did they do? So Parker Brothers, they went to Maggie, who sold the rights of landlord games for $500. Yes, why so cheap, if you may ask? This is because she wanted to stay true to the intention of why she created the game. That means she wanted to educate the people. And that is why she said, along with Monopoly, you also have to sell this. But very less copies were sold, very less copies were produced, to be very honest, and Monopoly became the best possible game. The worst part is the ideology with which Monopoly was created is exactly the opposite that Lizzie had for creating the landlord's game. Now that we've understood this passage, let's get into the questions. So question number 1 says, how does the objective of the landlord's game differ from that of Monopoly? Right, so in the landlord's game, you can only rent properties, but in Monopoly, you may buy them. Fair enough. So this is one difference, okay, that we can see. But what is the question? How does the objective of landlord's game differ from that of Monopoly? It's not just the differences, but the difference in the objective of the two. So this may not be the correct answer. Second one, landlord's game illustrates the inequality of the landlord-tenant system, whereas Monopoly encourages players to become landlords and become wealthy at the expense of others. Now this clearly tells us that in landlord games, we are looking at how the inequality of the landlord-tenant system is there. We are trying to educate. Whereas in Monopoly, we are trying to become landlords ourselves, wealthy at the expense of the others, wealthy without caring for the others. So this is a very good answer. Now look at C. The landlord's game teaches the problems of capitalism and Monopoly teaches the value of money. No, again, it does not talk to us about the problems of capitalism and the value of money. This has not been mentioned in the passage clearly, so we can remove this. 4. The landlord's game was a way for Quakers who are Quakers, people who stayed at Virginia, right, to understand the economic theories of Henry George, and Monopoly explains the evolutionary theories of Charles Darrow. First of all, there are no evolutionary theories of Charles Darrow. Okay, the examiner probably wanted to confuse us with Darwin and Darrow, so he gave us evolutionary theories of Darrow. This is completely out of scope, to be very honest. This answer is gibberish. So we can remove this. The best possible answer now becomes option B. Let's go to the second question. In the third paragraph, the statement, the rules of the landlord's game were explained and transmuted, relies on the notion that, okay, so what does it mean? Okay, or what does it rely on when we say that these were explained by people and they were transmuted? So when people pass along the information by word of mouth, it goes through changes. Yes, obviously. So that's what we've seen, right? Slight changes are going on. Why? Because people are talking about it to others. There were no game boards or pieces which were manufactured centrally. Everyone had to make their own thing. So they explained rules to each other. So this is a very good answer. B. When people explain things to their friends, they take on a different appearance. Now again, how people take on a different appearance is not any of our concern. So this will not be our answer. 3. Friends rely on another for vital information. They may not, but this has nothing to do with the game specifically. So we're gonna remove this. 4. It's not always easy to play by the rules. Again, very, very general and stupid answer. So we're gonna remove this as well. So the best possible answer now becomes 1. Let's go to the third question. In paragraph 4, the author implies that. So what is paragraph 4? So this is supposed to be paragraph 4, right? So these two parts of it. Yes, implies that Parker Brothers bought the game from Charles Darrow. See, now this is not an implication. This is something that's been stated explicitly, so this will not be our answer. It's not difficult to get a patent for an idea you didn't invent. So again, probably this is what the author is trying to imply, because Maggie invented the game, she had a patent, and yet Charles Darrow got another patent. So this could be another good answer. Monopoly made Parker Brothers and Darrow millions of dollars. Now this was something that's explicitly stated, so this is not an implication. D. Lizzie Maggie tried to sell her game to George Parker. Again, this has also been given to us directly, but in the last paragraph. So this is definitely not going to be the, this is going to be an out of scope choice for us. So the best possible answer will become 2. Now let's go to the last question of this passage. All of the following questions can be explicitly answered on the basis of the passage, except that means which of these questions cannot be answered by reading the passage. Why did Lizzie Maggie invent the landlord's game? So this is all about the landlord's game's objective, which has been clearly stated in the passage. So this will not be our exception. What was the object of landlord's game? Again, same as option 1. Why did she create? Because she wanted Henry George's objectives or propositions to be educated. Why? What was the object? To educate about those things. So both of these are almost similar. We can take them out. What were some of the properties on the landlord's game? This was also given to us in one of the paragraphs, where there was 22 rental units, there was a jail, all of those sorts of things. How did Parker Brothers find out that Charles Darrow did not invent the game? See, this is one other question that I also had. how did they even find out? Okay, I mean, if you imagine this to be a movie, this is a kick-ass movie. Some woman invents the game, this fellow steals the game, he gets the patent for it, he goes, he sells, he gets millions of money, and you know, later those Parker Brothers, the company that sold, that bought the game from this Darrow fellow, they come and they ask Maggie for the original, patent rights, so that they could continue to go ahead and sell the Monopoly game. But how did they even find out? That question does not get answered by reading the passage. So our best possible answer would be D. Now, if you watch this video till here, please do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in the next video.
Hope you enjoyed learning from today's session.
This series is designed to help you with your CAT preparation and practice daily. We are with you in this journey.
To watch the next video, click here. And to watch Gurukul's CAT 100 series, study room to boardroom, the entire playlist, click here.
If you learned from today's session, like, share, and subscribe.